Kash Patel, Trump's controversial pick to lead the FBI. Kash Patel has recently emerged as President Donald Trump's nominee to lead the Federal Bureau of Investigation (FBI), a choice that has sparked considerable debate and scrutiny ahead of his Senate confirmation hearing scheduled for January 30, 2025. As a prominent supporter of Trump, Patel's nomination marks a significant shift in leadership at the FBI following the ousting of Christopher Wray, who was perceived as insufficiently loyal to the former president. Background on Kash Patel. Patel's career trajectory has been marked by his close association with Trump and his controversial views on the FBI. Before his nomination, he served as the Chief of Staff at the Department of Defense and played a prominent role as a senior aide on the House Intelligence Committee. His rise in Trump's administration began in 2017, and by 2020, he had ascended to the Chief of Staff position at the Pentagon. This background has led some of his supporters to argue that he possesses the necessary experience in national security and law enforcement to lead the FBI effectively. However, Patel's critics argue otherwise. They highlight his history of incendiary rhetoric against the FBI, which he has accused of targeting conservatives and acting with bias, particularly in relation to investigations involving Trump. His vocal criticism of the FBI's handling of various cases has raised concerns about his ability to lead an agency that must operate independently of political influences. Confirmation hearing dynamics. As Patel approaches his confirmation hearing, the political atmosphere surrounding his nomination is fraught with tension. Democratic senators are expected to challenge his qualifications, rigorously focusing on his previous statements about the FBI and his loyalty to Trump. Senator Dick Durbin, a leading Democratic voice on the Senate Judiciary Committee, has expressed concerns about Patel's suitability for the role, questioning his judgment and temperament. Durbin's skepticism is underscored by Patel's past comments, in which he has suggested radical changes to the FBI, including the idea of converting its headquarters into a museum dedicated to what he calls the deep state. During the confirmation hearing, Patel is likely to face pointed inquiries regarding his commitment to maintaining the FBI's integrity and independence. He has publicly stated his intention to restore transparency and due process within the agency, asserting that he would focus on collaboration with local law enforcement and prioritize crime fighting over political issues if confirmed. Controversial statements and actions. Patel's nomination has highlighted several controversial aspects of his past. He has authored a memoir and participated in numerous podcasts where he has criticized the FBI and the broader intelligence community. In his memoir, he has referred to the agency as a tool of government tyranny, advocating for a significant overhaul and suggesting that many of its top officials should be dismissed. His so-called enemies list, included in his memoir, has further fueled the fire of controversy. This list features prominent Democratic figures including President Joe Biden and Attorney General Merrick Garland, whom Patel accuses of participating in a deep state conspiracy against Trump and his supporters. Critics warn that such rhetoric could lead to a politicization of the FBI under his leadership. Support and criticism. Supporters of Patel argue that he is the right candidate to restore public trust in the FBI, which they believe has been compromised. They point to his background in national security and his commitment to a more transparent and accountable bureau. Republican senators, including those on the Senate Judiciary Committee, have rallied around Patel, emphasizing the need for reform within the FBI to address alleged abuses of power and a perceived lack of transparency. On the other hand, many Democrats remain deeply skeptical. They argue that Patel's close ties to Trump and his history of attacking the FBI create a conflict of interest that could undermine the agency's credibility. The hearing is expected to be contentious, with Democratic senators likely to press Patel on his past statements and his vision for the FBI's future. The bigger picture. The outcome of Patel's confirmation hearing could have significant implications for the FBI and its role in American society. If confirmed, Patel would take charge of an agency that has been at the center of several politically charged investigations, including those involving Trump and his associates. His leadership style and priorities could reshape the FBI's approach to law enforcement and national security, particularly in an era marked by political polarization. In summary, Kash Patel's nomination to lead the FBI encapsulates a complex interplay of loyalty, reform, and political scrutiny. As he prepares for his confirmation hearing, the stakes are high not only for Patel but also for the future direction of the FBI and its relationship with both the executive branch and the American public. The hearing will serve as a critical juncture in determining whether Patel can navigate the contentious political landscape and earn the trust of legislators from both parties. Kash Patel, President Donald Trump's recent pick for FBI director, embodies a complex figure marked by loyalty to Trump and a controversial vision for the FBI. His nomination comes in the wake of Trump's discontent with the previous director, Christopher Wray, who was seen as not sufficiently loyal. As Patel prepares for his Senate confirmation hearing, he faces a divided political landscape that reflects broader tensions regarding the FBI's role and integrity. One counterintuitive aspect of Patel's nomination is the juxtaposition of his self-portrayal as a reform-minded candidate against the backdrop of his history of aggressive rhetoric aimed at the FBI. While he claims to prioritize transparency and due process, his previous statements and actions suggest a desire to reshape the agency in a manner that critics argue could lead to partisan retribution. Patel has openly criticized the FBI's investigations into Trump and associated matters, asserting that the Bureau has become politicized and has lost public trust. This raises questions about his ability to objectively lead an agency that he has accused of overreach and bias. During his confirmation hearing, Patel attempted to present himself as a candidate capable of restoring trust in the FBI, emphasizing his commitment to collaboration with local law enforcement and refocusing the Bureau's efforts on crime fighting rather than political investigations. However, this commitment contrasts sharply with his earlier declarations, including a proposal to shut down the FBI headquarters and reopen it as a museum of the deep state. Such statements could be interpreted as undermining the very institution he seeks to lead, suggesting a fundamental disconnect between his stated goals and his historical criticisms. Furthermore, Patel's supporters argue that his background in national security and law enforcement qualifies him for the position, yet critics highlight his lack of traditional experience leading a large federal agency. His past as a federal prosecutor and chief of staff at the Department of Defense may not fully equip him for the intricate challenges associated with overseeing an organization as complex as the FBI, which is tasked with national security and criminal investigations across diverse political and social landscapes. Additionally, Patel's connections to Trump and his portrayal of the FBI as a tool for partisan warfare complicate his narrative as a reformer. By casting the FBI in a conspiratorial light, he risks alienating segments of the public and law enforcement community that rely on the Bureau's impartiality and professionalism. This dynamic presents a counterintuitive challenge. While he seeks to rally support from Trump's base and those disillusioned with the FBI, he may simultaneously exacerbate divisions that undermine the agency's credibility. The confirmation hearing is likely to be a battleground of competing narratives. Democratic senators, particularly those concerned about Patel's previous comments and potential motivations, will scrutinize his qualifications and commitment to nonpartisanship. In contrast, Republican senators may rally around him as a necessary agent of change, reflecting their shared skepticism of the FBI's recent actions and a desire for accountability. This polarized environment highlights the counterintuitive reality that Patel's position as a disruptor may alienate him from the very institution he aims to reform. Ultimately, Kash Patel's nomination encapsulates a broader struggle over the future of the FBI and its role in American governance. As he navigates the confirmation process, his ability to reconcile his past rhetoric with the demands of leadership within a critical federal agency will be pivotal. The tension between his identity as a Trump loyalist and his aspirations to restore trust in the FBI exemplifies the complexities and contradictions inherent in contemporary political appointments, particularly in a context where public trust in government institutions is increasingly fragile. Kash Patel's nomination by President Donald Trump to lead the FBI is a significant event in U.S. politics and has far-reaching implications for the agency and its relationship with both the executive branch and the public. Here are some critical aspects of Patel's nomination and background that many might overlook along with their significance. 1. Background and experience. Patel's experience is often a point of contention. While he has held various positions including as a Chief of Staff at the Department of Defense and as Senior Counsel for the House Intelligence Committee, critics argue that he lacks the necessary experience to lead an organization as complex as the FBI. They cite his history of political involvement rather than extensive law enforcement or FBI experience. This raises questions about the qualifications needed for such a leadership role and whether political loyalty should supersede relevant experience in federal law enforcement. Significance. This debate touches on a broader concern about the politicization of law enforcement agencies. If Patel's nomination is viewed as a reward for loyalty rather than merit, it could set a precedent that undermines the integrity of the FBI and similar agencies. 2. Criticism of the FBI. Patel has been a vocal critic of the FBI, describing it as a tool for political retribution against conservatives. He has called for significant reforms, including shutting down the FBI headquarters and transforming it into a museum of the deep state. This rhetoric has alarmed many, suggesting a shift from law enforcement to a politically motivated agenda. Significance. His views reflect a growing sentiment among certain political factions that see the FBI as a political adversary rather than a law enforcement agency. This could lead to a further erosion of public trust in the FBI and its ability to operate independently of political influence. 3. Enemies list and political retaliation. Patel has created an enemies list of individuals he associates with the deep state. This list includes prominent Democrats and figures who have criticized Trump. Such a practice raises concerns about potential misuse of FBI resources to target political opponents. Significance. The existence of this list and Patel's prior comments suggest a willingness to engage in political retribution which could fundamentally alter the FBI's mission and operational integrity. It poses a danger of transforming the agency into a partisan tool, which could compromise its ability to fight crime impartially. 4. The impact of partisan politics. The nomination has become a focal point for partisan conflict. Democratic senators like Dick Durbin have raised concerns about Patel's fitness for the role, emphasizing the need for an FBI director who prioritizes national security over political grievances. Significance. This situation exemplifies the deepening partisan divide in American politics. How Patel's confirmation hearing unfolds could set a precedent for future nominations where political loyalty is weighed heavily against qualifications, potentially leading to a cycle of retribution and reduced effectiveness in law enforcement. 5. Public trust in agency reform. Patel has claimed that the FBI has lost public trust and that he is the one to restore it. He emphasizes the need for transparency and a return to crime-fighting priorities. Significance. The FBI's reputation and public trust are crucial for its operational effectiveness. If Patel's approach to reform is perceived as further politicizing the agency, it could exacerbate the existing distrust among various segments of the population, leading to greater challenges in law enforcement and public cooperation. 6. Potential changes to FBI operations. Patel's intention to prioritize local law enforcement collaboration and streamline FBI operations indicates a desire to reshape the agency's priorities. Significance. While collaboration with local law enforcement is generally seen as a positive step, The manner in which Patel proposes to implement these changes could either enhance the FBI's effectiveness or lead to conflicts between federal and local agencies, particularly if political motives influence these collaborations. 7. Historical context of FBI leadership. Patel's close alignment with Trump and his criticisms of the FBI mark a departure from the traditional model of FBI directors who maintain a degree of independence from the presidency. Significance: this shift could lead to a more overtly politicized FBI, which may affect its operational autonomy and public perception. The historical precedent of FBI directors seeking to operate independently is crucial for maintaining the agency's integrity. And Patel's approach could challenge this norm. 8. The role of media and public discourse. The framing of Patel's nomination and the ensuing debate reflect broader media narratives and public discourse regarding government institutions and their perceived politicization. Significance: media coverage can shape public perception and influence the outcomes of political processes such as confirmation hearings. How Patel's story is told and debated will affect public trust in the FBI and potentially impact future nominations and governance. Conclusion: Kash Patel's nomination as FBI director is not just about one individual's qualifications but reflects larger trends in American politics, including the politicization of law enforcement, the erosion of public trust in institutions, and the implications of loyalty versus merit in federal appointments. These elements are critical to understanding the potential future of the FBI and its role in American society. The outcome of Patel's confirmation hearing could set important precedents for how the FBI operates and is perceived in the coming years. 1. Patel's controversial background and relationship with Trump. Kash Patel's nomination as FBI director is heavily influenced by his staunch loyalty to former President Donald Trump, which has raised concerns about his impartiality. His previous roles, including as Chief of Staff at the Department of Defense and as Senior Counsel on the House Intelligence Committee, have shaped his perspective on the FBI, leading him to criticize its investigations into Trump and to advocate for significant reforms. This relationship is pivotal in understanding his potential impact on the FBI's operations and its relationship with the presidency. 2. Skepticism from Democratic senators. The anticipated Senate confirmation hearing is expected to be contentious, particularly with Democratic senators expressing doubts about Patel's qualifications and intentions. Critics, including Senator Dick Durbin, have highlighted concerns regarding his past rhetoric, perceived unfitness for leadership, and the potential for partisan retribution. This skepticism is indicative of the broader political divide and the challenges Patel may face in gaining bipartisan support, which is crucial for his confirmation. 3. Proposed reforms and vision for the FBI. Patel has articulated a vision for reforming the FBI, emphasizing the need to restore public trust through transparency and due process. His proposals include shifting the focus of the Bureau towards crime fighting rather than political investigations and restructuring the agency's operations to enhance collaboration with local law enforcement. His commitment to these reforms could significantly alter the FBI's mission and public perception, making this aspect a focal point for analysis during his confirmation process. 4. Impact of partisan polarization on law enforcement. Patel's nomination and the surrounding discourse underscore the increasing politicization of law enforcement agencies in the U.S. The FBI's perceived loss of public trust and Patel's alignment with Trump's narrative about the deep state reflect a broader trend of partisan divisions affecting the agency's credibility. This context is critical for understanding the implications of Patel's leadership on the FBI's future operations, community relations, and its role in nonpartisan law enforcement. 1. J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI's political influence. J. Edgar Hoover served as the first director of the FBI from its founding in 1935 until his death in 1972. Under Hoover's leadership, the FBI expanded its role and power significantly. He was known for his aggressive tactics in gathering intelligence and conducting surveillance on political figures, activists, and civil rights leaders, often without proper legal justification. Hoover maintained files on numerous public figures which he used to exert influence and manipulate political processes. His tenure is often cited as a period when the FBI became deeply entwined in the political landscape of the United States, leading to debates about the agency's accountability and its role in American democracy. 2. Robert Mueller's investigation into Trump-Russia collusion. Robert Mueller, appointed as special counsel in 2017, led an extensive investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election and potential collusion with the Trump campaign. The investigation faced intense scrutiny and political backlash, particularly from Trump and his allies, who claimed it was a partisan attack. Mueller's report, released in 2019, detailed numerous contacts between Trump associates and Russian officials, but ultimately did not establish that the Trump campaign conspired or coordinated with the Russian government. This case highlighted the contentious relationship between the FBI political power and public trust, similar to the concerns surrounding Kash Patel's nomination and his criticisms of the Bureau. 3. William Barr and the politicization of the Justice Department. William Barr served as Attorney General under President Trump from 2019 to 2020. His tenure was marked by significant controversy, especially regarding his handling of the Mueller report and the investigations into Trump's political opponents. Critics accused Barr of politicizing the Justice Department, arguing that he prioritized Trump's interests over the law. His decisions, including intervening in cases involving Trump associates and the actions taken during the protests following the killing of George Floyd, raised alarms about the independence of federal law enforcement. This scenario reflects the current political climate surrounding Kash Patel's nomination, as both figures illustrate the ongoing debates about the intersection of law enforcement and political loyalty. Future outlook: predictions for Kash Patel's leadership at the FBI. As Kash Patel steps into the role of FBI Director, assuming he successfully navigates his Senate confirmation, his leadership is poised to usher in significant changes that will likely reshape the agency's operations, public perception, and its relationship with the political landscape. Below are key predictions regarding the future outlook of the FBI under Patel's direction. 1. Shift in agency culture and operations. Patel has vocally criticized the current state of the FBI, claiming it has lost public trust and has been politicized. His commitment to transparency and due process suggests a potential overhaul of internal procedures. Expect an emphasis on a more localized and community-oriented approach to law enforcement, with greater collaboration with local police agencies. This could lead to a shift in focus toward crime fighting rather than political investigations, which he has criticized in the past. 2. Potential restructuring of the Bureau. Patel's controversial proposals, such as the idea of repurposing the FBI headquarters into a museum, signify a desire for radical change. If he follows through with significant restructuring, it could involve decentralizing operations and reallocating resources to field offices, which he has suggested will enhance crime-fighting capabilities. These changes, however, will likely face resistance from within the agency and from political opponents who may see them as an attempt to diminish the FBI's authority. 3. Heightened political tensions. Patel's close ties to Trump and his history of partisan rhetoric will likely exacerbate existing political divisions. His leadership may be characterized by a confrontational stance towards Democratic lawmakers and critics, potentially leading to increased allegations of partisan bias within the FBI. As he implements reforms, expect ongoing scrutiny and pushback from Democratic senators who will likely challenge his decisions and motives, framing them as politically motivated rather than in the interest of national security. For a focus on deep state narratives. Given Patel's previous comments about the deep state, it is likely that he will continue to promote narratives that resonate with Trump's base, framing the FBI's past actions as politically charged. This could lead to investigations into perceived misconduct by political opponents, feeding into a cycle of politicization that could further erode public trust in the agency. Such an approach could polarize public opinion, with supporters viewing these actions as necessary accountability while critics may see them as partisan witch hunts. 5. Impact on FBI's role in national security. as Patel seeks to re-establish the FBI's credibility, he may face challenges related to national security threats including domestic terrorism and cybercrime. His commitment to streamlining operations could enhance the agency's responsiveness to such threats. But any perceived politicization of the FBI's national security responsibilities could undermine its effectiveness. Patel will need to balance reform with maintaining the agency's critical role in protecting the nation. 6. Changes in public perception. Patel's leadership style and decisions will influence public perception of the FBI. If he successfully implements reforms that resonate with conservative constituents, he may bolster support among Trump's base. However, ongoing controversies and partisan conflicts could further alienate those who already distrust the FBI. The agency's reputation may fluctuate based on Patel's ability to restore confidence while navigating political challenges. 7. Long-term consequences for the FBI. Patel's appointment represents a broader trend of politicization within federal agencies. If his approach leads to sustained changes in how the FBI operates, it could set a precedent for future administrations, potentially eroding the nonpartisan nature of federal law enforcement. The long-term consequences may include a shift in how the FBI interacts with both political leaders and the communities it serves, impacting its overall effectiveness and public trust. In conclusion, Kash Patel's leadership at the FBI is likely to be marked by significant upheaval characterized by a push for reform, increased political tensions, and a potential redefinition of the Bureau's role in American society. The success or failure of his initiatives will depend heavily on his ability to navigate the complex political landscape while addressing the critical mission of the FBI and maintaining national security. The coming years will be pivotal in determining how these dynamics unfold and their lasting impact on the agency and American law enforcement.